Hello everybody. Oh my goodness. Hi. Um this is the first episode of my podcast that I'm starting. I'm very excited to be here. I guess I'll start with a quick introduction. My name is Sarah Crake. This is a little show that I'm starting called Hot Girls Learn Hockey. Name pending. It might be different. I'll let the audience decide what they feel about that name. Oh my gosh, where to start? So I'm starting this podcast to help myself along with really anybody else who wants to learn more about ice hockey, because it's a sport that I have decided to immerse myself in and follow. I just think that it's a very fun sport. It's a lot different, at least to like following football or following, basketball, baseball, whatever. Don't ask me to understand how baseball works. I refuse to. It's way too complicated. But learning hockey, kind of the basic understanding of it was really fun. Starting like when I was getting into it, which I have, just for background, have known about hockey for a long time. I know what the Stanley Cup is, or like I knew like base level of what the Stanley Cup is. I knew that there's a goalie, knew that they skated on ice, and I knew like some teams like the New York Rangers, Boston Bruins, San Jose Sharks. My grandparents and my uncle were really huge fans of the Sharks, which is why I've coined it as the team that I'm following, even though it's a struggle bus sometimes. If you know, you know. But I knew like kind of like little tidbits of it. But I really started getting more into it through reading hockey romance books. Not sponsored, not like she needs, anyone to be paid to talk about her, but my favorite book series for hockey was and is this series from, well, it's 3 separate series, but they're all in the same universe and all by the same author. Her name is Elle Kennedy. She has her, oh my gosh, Off Campus is the first series. Then it's, I believe, Briar U, and then Campus Diaries. I believe that's order, like the name of the series in order. The one she's working on now, I think this is the last book of it, which comes out in like 2 weeks, maybe next week. Not too sure. I pre-ordered it, so I'll get it regardless. But yeah, that's the whole reason why I got into talking, in case anyone was wondering how I started getting into this very specific sport. And while I was teaching myself, or pretty much like, asking questions and learning how the sport works, how like a standard NHL, whole season kind of goes, the different divisions that they have, which it's, it's a lot. But while I was doing my own research and figuring all these things out, I couldn't help but think or feel in my heart, like, and think in my head, I wish that there was someone who could like dumb it down for me and teach me these things in terms that not necessarily that I would understand better, but that would make it slightly more fun, and more like, God, I don't want to use Gen Z as an adjective, but like more Gen Z-y, if that makes sense. Just pretty much like if I were to like sit down with my girlfriends and like be like, okay, tell me about hockey. I want to know everything. And then have them explain it to me the way that you would like kiki with your girls. And I hope that with doing these episodes and going over, how hockey is played, like how a game works, the history of the sport in general, and the history of hockey broadcasting, like as a whole, and also, just what the different penalties are, the different divisions in NHL, different leagues from around the world, and even from like the United States and Canada. I just hope that I can be that person that I wanted to learn hockey from. But for anyone else, you know, regardless if you're one of my friends that's watching because you want to support me, or you're someone who's just learning or just wanting to learn and get into hockey and kind of just want somebody to kind of hold your hand and guide you through it, because there's still things that I'm learning about that I had a kind of a very vague understanding of it, but going into researching for these episodes, I've now completely understood even better, whether that's just because an article I read was really good, or because I, in my head, compared it to something else that would help me understand it. I want to learn, I want to teach you guys, but also I'm going to be learning stuff along the way too. So let's first off start this episode with a very dumb but vague but necessary question to start everything off. What is hockey? That's $1 million question here, guys. Also, if you notice me taking a sip out of my San Jose Sharks cup, not sponsored, they will never sponsor me, but I love you guys. And here is I'm not going to give the brand name, but it's a seltzer and like a hard seltzer and a energy drink mixed together. Don't come at me. I don't care. I had 2 drinks and I wanted to see what they taste like together. So let's try that. Kind of just tastes like coconut water. I'll take it. But yeah, so I'm going to have this little drink to kind of help, with the whole kikiing aspect of it. If you don't know what a kiki is, look it up. That's not what we're describing here. I'm not teaching you what kikiing is. But I hope that while you're listening or while you're watching this, that you too can grab a little drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. I chose both today, just mixed into one. So let's start. So what is hockey? The very basic definition that I came up with, my little flower fell. If you're watching this on the video, I don't know if you even saw that, but I have a little flower stuffy and it fell over. But so the definition that I came up with is it's a sport consisting of 2 teams on ice skates using sticks to shoot pucks into a net to score goals. And the team with the most goals at the end of the game wins. And then I put in parentheses, duh. If you see me looking down, I'm referring to these notes that I'm making to kind of help get my thoughts in order. So I'm not, rambling all over the place. I probably will go into tangents about different things that are interesting to me. But for the most part, I'll try to be more as, bam, 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 bam as possible. But also by keeping it fun, because we're all about having fun here. So that is, in a nutshell, like a basic definition of hockey, which maybe you knew, maybe you didn't, but now you do. So a standard game, no matter which league you're watching, or if it's the NHL, AHL, PWHL, and NCAA Division 1, CHL, KHL, whatever. A standard game is going to have 3 periods, just like how football has 4 quarters, basketball has four quarters, or I guess, is basketball called periods? I think basketball is called periods. I managed a basketball team in high school. I should know this, but in hockey, they have 3 periods. And each period is lasting 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes on the clock. Whether the period will last exactly 20 minutes is, it normally never does. But that's just how much time is in a standard period. And then in between the periods is about a 15-minute intermission. That's when the teams go back to the locker rooms. They also will switch sides on the rink or on the ice. So we'll start like one team on one side, one team on the other, like goalie-wise. And then they'll start that first period, swap for the second, swap back for the third, and third/last. And how long, like hours-wise, a hockey game goes, it really just depends on what happens during the game. There's various factors that can impact how many hours a game can last. You know, if it goes into overtime, it'll go longer. If it's, you know, if something happens to a player on the ice and then they have to be evaluated, you know, they'll stop the clock and it will, you know, it'll stay at that time for however long it takes to evaluate the player, or if a goal needs to be evaluated. There's so many different factors. So the longest I think I've spent at a game was like 3.5 hours, maybe 4. But it'll at least go 2 hours, hopefully, unless the game just like goes by really smoothly, which never does. But that's what makes it fun to watch, either in person or on TV. Now, I mentioned in my definition that the whole point of the game is to get as many goals as possible. But what exactly is a goal? So a goal is, by definition, any shot that is directed towards the goal and either goes in or is stopped by the goalie. Basically, it's a... Wait. I'm so dumb. I read my next point. What's considered a goal? Oh my god. Okay, so we talked about what's a goal. I'm leaving that in because I don't care. So what is a goal? A goal is any shot that clears the goal line, and it can go into the net and stay in the net, or it can go in and bounce out. Either way, as long as it goes into the net, more importantly, passes that goal line, it's considered a goal. You know, pretty standard. You know, if you watch like, you know, a soccer game, once if it goes into the goal, into like the net, then it's a goal. Same thing with hockey. There are, you know, different things that can happen. They can call a goal into play and question the validity of it. Either the refs can, or a coach on each whatever team can call a shot into play, and then the refs have to like review the film, because there's so many different camera angles, especially in the NHL, which I'm recording this on February 5th. So yesterday, February 4th, was a game between San Jose Sharks and the Montreal Canadiens. And so obviously, as a Sharks fan, I was watching it. And there was one goal that Fabian Zetterlund on the Sharks made. He shot it towards the Montreal's net. And there was this whole kerfuffle happening in front of, like, in the crease, in front of the crease, or the side of the crease of the net. And it was really hard to see if the puck actually, you know, crossed the goal line at any point and then came out. Because if you can watch the footage if you want. I'm not going to insert it because I don't want to get copyright striked. But you can watch it if you want. It should be on the NHL app or on whatever, any hockey page will probably show it if it's a Sharks page. But it like goes in, it's like a little sliver, like the tiniest little sliver of space that Fabian or Zetterlund, I'm gonna call him Zetterlund, but I'm just gonna call him his last name, that Zetterlund shoots into. And the Canadiens goalie, like, it goes under his like padding on his legs, and at least from what I saw from two different angles when they were replaying the shot while the refs were reviewing the footage, I saw it past the goal line, and then the padding on Montreal's goalie's legs kind of shot it out. Like, but in the end, the refs were like, it does not count as a goal, and we lost last night. But we only lost, it was 4-3, so it was an alright game. I started getting really irritated after that, so I was like, I'm not gonna watch anymore. I'm just gonna wake up and see if we fucking won or not, which we didn't. But oh well, we didn't lose like embarrassingly, like by an embarrassing amount, so that's fine, I guess. But that can happen to contest a goal or to invalidate or validate a goal. You know, doesn't happen too often. I've only seen it, at least in games that I've watched myself, I've only seen it happen twice. But it's something that can happen. So the definition that I said was the definition of a goal, is what a definition of a shot on goal is. That's something that you will see for stats for a team, for like a game, or especially like stats from players that are playing in a game, or even just their stats overall, is their shot on goal. So shot on goal is any shot that's directed towards the goal and either goes in or is stopped by the goalie. It's basically a shot that the goalie from whatever team has to actively try to stop, or actively tries to stop and doesn't stop. And your team wants to lead by shots on goal. Like, they want to be leading farther than the other team for shots on goal, because that means that they're actively trying to make goals. They're not just, passing the puck, dilly-dallying. They're actually, actively trying to score. So shots on goal are very important in the game. They're very important for a player's stats, because it shows that they, they're making these shots. Especially for the centers, or like any of the forwards, they want to get, they want to get iced. Their end goal, they want to score. They want to score for their team. They want to get either, be the one to score, or they want to get assists. But also they want to get a ton of shots on goal. And if you're wondering like what forwards are, assists, like, I will go over these. I'm just saying these things. I will go back, I promise, and let you know what they mean, and I will reference what I said before this whole spiel. So don't worry about that. If you're getting a little bit lost, please do not worry. We will review, okay? And now a goal counts obviously as 1 point for the team overall, and it's not like with, football, where a touchdown is 2 points, or basketball has like 2-pointers or 3-pointers. A goal is only going to be 1 point towards the team. However, individual points can be given to as many as 3 players for 1 goal. So obviously you will give 1 point to the player who shot the goal and made it in, but if they have, which is typically common, if they have 1 or 2, it's like 2 or more, I think it can go up to 3 players for an assist. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but if they have like 2 or 3 of their teammates that touched the puck before they did, like, how should I describe this? Like, let's say you have, your center and two other forwards, your right and left wing, and they're all near the opposing player's net, and right wing shoots it to left wing, who shoots it to the center, and center makes the goal. All 3 of those guys, or players, are gonna all get a point for that goal. So the goal will count as 1 point for the team, but for individual players, they will also get a point that adds to their stats as a player, which is very important with hockey. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, headphone users, if you were wondering. Hopefully that didn't make too big of a noise, but I just whacked my microphone stand. I'm so sorry. My bad. So that's how the pointing system works, or the point system works for a standard game. I believe it's the same for all leagues. I could be wrong for international ones. This I know for sure is the point system for NHL games, but if I'm wrong, please let me know. Either message me on Instagram, or you can put down in the comments below of this video if you're watching on the video. But as far as I can tell from all my research, and as far as I can tell just from watching games, that should be the point system, and how points are given out for any hockey game. But like I said, I could be wrong, and please tell me if I'm wrong. Like I said in the beginning, we're learning together, and I'm still learning like shit about this game. I love it so much, but it has so many fucking rules. like any sport. But all right, so what have we gone over so far? We've gone over what is hockey, how long a game lasts, what's a goal, what's a shot on goal, and how the point system works. So now let's get into these very specific things that will occur during any hockey game. Let's go over the first thing that I want to is a power play, which you will see at the very least, I want to say 2 per game, at least 1, unless it's a game where like absolutely no penalties are given out for a player, which I've yet to see happen. I'm sure it can. I haven't seen it. So a power play happens when 1 or more players on a team get a penalty and they have to serve a set amount of minutes in the penalty box. You'll see watching a game what the penalty box is. It's like a big glass, like plexiglass box with a bench in it, and they'll separate it so each team will have their own penalty box for their own players. They keep them separated, especially if it's a fight, because they're just like chirping at each other. It's so funny when 2 players get into a fight on the ice and then they get sent to their like individual penalty boxes, and you see them and they're still fighting. They're just yelling at each other now. It's really funny. I hope like if anyone ever goes to a game or just watches a game that you can, or even actually you can just watch like highlights on YouTube for players getting into fights and then continuing to fight in the penalty box. It's really funny. Sorry if you don't like the sound of me taking sips of stuff, hopefully it's not too loud, but if you don't like it, I'm sorry. Talking makes me thirsty. It's like a normal thing as a human, and I hope that you're okay with that. I'm gonna put my cup over here. So what were we talking about? Oh my god, we were talking about power plays. Yeah. So yeah, a power play happens when one or more players on a team get a penalty and have to serve a set amount of minutes in the penalty box, leaving their team down 1 or more players and giving the opposing team the advantage of having more players on the ice. So what this will look like is essentially for each team on the ice during gameplay, they can only have 6 players on the ice. That includes the goalie. So the goalie, is not going to be, skating up and down the rink, like the rink or ice, whatever, during gameplay. They stay in their cage. But so that leaves the other 5 players on the ice being the guys to, grab the puck, shoot and score goals for their team, steal the puck from the other team, whatever. That leaves 5 from each team on the ice battling it out with each other. So if one of them gets a penalty, let's say we're going to use 2 NHL teams as an example. So we will use, shocker, I'm going to use the Sharks as one of them because I know more of the players' names. So we will use the San Jose Sharks as being our home team, and then we'll use, let's do Florida Panthers as the other. I know a few Florida Panthers players, mainly Matthew Tkachuk, which we can talk about, later. So we're gonna, in our scenario, it's the Sharks versus the Panthers, and let's say, 10 minutes and 24 seconds into the second period, Will Smith is, he has the puck and he's being checked by Matthew Tkachuk, and Matthew trips Will on the ice. Tripping is considered a penalty. There'll be a whole I have a whole episode planned on what different penalties mean, but tripping is probably the most basic one. Like, it's just tripping him for no fucking reason. It has to happen when the player doesn't have the puck, but Will is handling the puck. He shoots it off to Zetterlund, and then Matthew Tkachuk trips Will Smith. The ref will blow the whistle because they're really good. They're right on the ice with the player, so they're really good at seeing different penalties. He'll be like, hey, you can't do that. That's a penalty. So what happens is he will send Matthew to Tkachuk. Last names are so important in hockey because there's like, especially on the Sharks, there's two Wills. So I have to use their last names. I have Smith and Eklund, but that's neither here nor there. That's not helpful to this scenario, Sarah. So Tkachuk will get usually it's a 2-minute to 3-minute penalty for that. Usually, more than likely, it's like generally 2 minutes. So he will be sent to the penalty box for 2 minutes. So that is 2 minutes that he is not going to be on the ice playing on his team. And the thing is that you cannot replace players. If one of your players is in the penalty box, you can't send somebody out to play for him, like in place of him, for the 2 minutes that he's going to be in there. So your team in this scenario, the Panthers are going to only have 4 guys actively, playing on the ice, whereas the Sharks are still going to have their 5. This gives the Sharks the power play. The power play will be for the team that still has all 5 or that has more players on the ice during however many minutes that penalty is. And the whole goal, pun intended, for the team with less players is to try to score as much as possible, especially they want to prove that, even though they're down a player, especially if they're down their best player, that they can still, hustle out there and they still got that sauce. They still can shoot even if they're one player down. They also want to up the defense on their net, because they, instead of having their full 5, they're going to have only their 4, and they want to make sure that their net is going to be properly defended, especially because that the other team, the Sharks, they have all 5 of their guys that can go over and shoot. They have more coverage to defend their net. They also have more people on the ice to make the goals. So those are the 2 main objectives for the team that's down a player or more. And then the goal for the team that has the power play advantage, in this case would be the Sharks. They want to score as much as possible, since they do have the advantage of having more players on the ice. They want it to really take advantage of that, however many minutes it is, whether it's 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, whatever. They want to take advantage of that as much as they can. They also have the advantage of having more players to defend their net, which is nice. And if let's say if a player's penalty box time goes longer than how many minutes or seconds are in the game. So let's say, different scenario. I'm going to use different scenario, but same guys. So let's say there's only 30 seconds left in the second period, but Tkachuk gets a 2-minute penalty. So they'll play out the last 30 seconds of the period, but when they come back for the third period, that is when Tkachuk will serve out the other minute and a half of his penalty. So the first minute and a half of the third period, the Panthers will still be down 1 player, and the Sharks will still continue on their power play going into the beginning of the third period. It doesn't just magically go away just because your penalty lasts longer than the period's going to last. That's not how it works. And it's very fair rule, I would say. Sure, some people might not, but I don't fucking care. And so that is, in a nutshell, how a power play works. It's like the most straightforward thing that happens during a game that's branching off of normal standard gameplay. It's very easy to see that, that team does get a power play because they have more people on the ice at that time. It was the first thing that I learned while I was watching a game. My dad taught me what a power play was, and then I just kind of did my own very brief, simple definition of it. I hope it made sense. I think it did. It made sense to me while I was writing it, but that's just my head. So another thing that is very, very common is icing. It was really fun when I heard that term for the first time. I was like, ooh, icing. It's a funny name. So what is icing? Icing is when the defense sends the puck over the red center red line and it past the opposing team's goal line with no other player touching the puck. So pretty much it has to go, like the puck has to go past the red center line and then all the way past to like pretty much behind the opposing team's net, and without either team, without really anybody touching the puck. That's going to be considered icing, and it will be considered, I think it's considered like a penalty. It's considered one, but like not to the point where, you know, the player, whoever sends it, they won't, you know, serve any time in a penalty box. So why do they do it? Well, let's talk about what the result of icing as a whole, what the result is. So the result is a face-off in the defensive end of the team who sent the puck to begin with. That is the team who caused the icing infraction. So, excuse me. What will happen after icing is called for whatever team is they'll do a face-off, which is pretty much, it's how a game or a period starts. You have your two centers facing off in front of each other, and the ref in front of them, and they'll drop the puck, and both centers will like battle it out to get the puck over to one of their guys. They'll do a face-off in the defensive end of the team who sent the puck, which means that if in our scenario that we're still using, you know, the Sharks, they get called out for icing, a new face-off will happen closer to their net, which will give the Panthers more, it'll get them closer to the Sharks' goal and gives them a little bit of an edge, an upper advantage to, you know, getting a goal for their own team. And so you're probably asking, well, they know what they're doing if they're shooting this and they know that nobody's going to touch it. So why would the Sharks do icing? Why would the team cause an icing penalty if it's just not going to work in their favor? So there's a couple reasons why. It's mostly used to disrupt an offensive threat, because it creates a pause in the action, because when that happens, they have to take a pause, and, you know, the time, the clock will be paused, and then they'll call out, you know, San Jose Sharks for icing at whatever minutes and whatever seconds. It's really funny listening to the announcers, because they'll be very specific with the time. It's really funny. And so it creates a pause in action, especially if, you know, there's a big offensive threat. If the Panthers are really upping their, you know, their guys and they're really hounding the Sharks, they'll be like, okay, we need to like do something to stop this, or at least just slow this down. And it's also used when a team needs to switch out one or more of their players on the ice. Which brings me to our next little bit of information that I knew about, because I've sat, let's say 3 separate times now behind the Sharks bench at their games. But when I was really going into doing research about this, I didn't know that this is very specific to hockey. It is that hockey is the only professional sport that does like player swaps. I don't know the technical term for it, I couldn't remember, but they like swap out their players while game is still in play. What this means is, if you look at basketball, if you look at baseball, if you look at football, or did I say football? If you look at any other sport, if they need to switch out any of their players on the team, like that are, you know, in gameplay, they have to pause the game and then switch out the players. But with hockey, they don't do that. It's so fast paced. They're like swapping out guys, every, I want to say, 90 seconds. What you'll see and what you'll learn with hockey is that players will only play, or will only be on the ice, I should say, for not a huge amount of time. I'd say, 90 seconds is probably going to be the most that you'll see. That's not including the goalie, because, the goalie is going to stay. Maybe they'll have a goalie switch, from one period to the other. But for the most part, they're gonna be on the ice for the most time. But for your players that are skating up and down the ice and, actually, passing the puck, shooting, scoring, whatever, they're going to be on the ice for like a couple seconds to 90 seconds. And it's really fun watching, especially in real life. It's more fun watching this at an actual hockey game than it is just watching on TV, because you'll blink and then there'll be like 5 different guys on the fucking ice. But if you're sitting behind the bench at a game, or if you're sitting near to the bench, it's just like bam bam, like they're jumping, they're going out to the ice, and the other guys are jumping back over, they're jumping out. It's so interesting to watch. And you'll see them working in real time. Like, okay, if they see one of their forwards is not, they're lagging, they're really struggling out there, they have tons of shots on goal, but they're getting more frustrated with themselves because they haven't made a goal, even though they've been actively trying. The coaches will be like, okay, we need to get him off, we'll come over here, we'll put this other guy out there. It's just, they're always thinking on their feet, and it's very interesting to watch. It's one of my favorite parts of hockey. It's also one thing that, when I'm watching a game with somebody who doesn't know anything about hockey, and they see that, they're like, wait, when did this player get out there? I'm like, oh, they just swapped out. I'm like, and they're like, did they call a timeout? Like, no, they didn't call a timeout. They switch while it's in play. It's a very interesting aspect. And it's also, like, I didn't know that hockey was the only professional sport that has this as, like, a thing that they do, which is very cool to learn. So that's another reason why, icing is used. They'll use it as to like, cause a little bit of time so the offense is over on their side, and then the defense can go and then swap the little guys. Now, I've been yapping for, God, I don't even know how long I've been yapping for. But I've also said a bunch of different words that you're probably like, Sarah, what the fuck do those mean? What's a goalie? What's a center? What are forwards? Defense? Brendan? Sorry for that. My boyfriend came home. I was filming the entire time that he was up here, but I'm gonna cut it out. So if the lighting seems a little bit different, that's because I took like a 3-minute break because when he came home. So what were we talking about? I threw around a lot of different terms in my little spiel from before, like centers and goalie and blah, 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 blah. You're probably like, what the fuck are those, Sarah? I'm gonna explain them to you, okay? Calm down, all right? Jeez. So, we'll talk about the 6 positions on the ice during a game. I'll tell you first each position, and then I'll go over what they do. So first is going to be your goalie. Second is going to be your right wing, your left wing, your center, your right defenseman, and then your left defenseman. 6 people, and that's, when they're switching out players on the ice, they'll always have one of each on there actively during gameplay. It's just a matter of who they're going to have out there. Now let's start from the most obvious to the very specific. I'd say the most obvious position and the easiest position just to remember what they do is going to be the goalie. They are those big, padded up players right in front of that little teeny net. And that's not teeny, it just looks teeny because, especially in like men's hockey, the goalies are like broad. They also have like tons of padding on them. They're very, you'll look at a team, you'll be like, oh, like if they're all in their gear, you'll be like, okay, yeah, that's the goalie. Because they have these huge pads that they strap onto their leg. They also have these, it's called a mask instead of just having like a helmet. Like, it is a helmet, but it's also a mask that goes over their face, because I mean, obviously they're gonna want to protect every single inch on their body, because they have pucks flying at them at like 90 miles per hour. These hockey players, like, that's another thing they get. Like, another one of their stats is the speed of puck. The speed the puck goes whenever they make a shot. It can go very, very fast. And if you get hit by a puck going, let's say, 93 miles an hour, it's not going to feel good, and it's going to leave a gnarly bruise. So that's why goalies wear all those big paddings. And it's the ones on their legs really remind me of, those floating things that you learn to swim with as a kid. It's really funny. So that's, what they look like on the ice. What do? They protect their goal. Yeah, I mean, they protect their goal. They try to get the puck away from their goal or their net. So most of the times you'll see them standing in the crease, which, and I'll say what the crease, or I'll describe what the crease is in like just a second. Hang in there with me for literally just a couple of seconds. They'll stay mainly in the crease during gameplay, but if the puck heads over to them and there's no one from the opposing team over there, you'll see them go out of their net and around to the back and then shoot the puck back over to the opposing team's side. So down that I've said the word crease for like probably the third time now. I told you I would get back to it. See? I keep my promises. The crease it's like a semicircle-ish. It's more like two straight lines and then like a little half circle in front of it, but it's this little area in front of the net that is usually filled in with the color blue that I've seen, regardless of what arena it is, and that is what is called a crease. So if you're ever watching a hockey game, or if you're ever at one and you hear people yelling like, "Get him out of the crease! Get him out of the crease!" They're yelling at their team to get the opposing team out of their goalie's crease, because getting in the crease just ups the chance of a goal happening. And separating the crease, like the little filled in amount on the ice, the crease, and the net, is going to be the goal line. It's that thing that I mentioned earlier for what a goal is considered. A shot that passes the goal line. So goal line is a little 2-inch line that's going to be in between where the net starts and the crease starts. And that's going to be a very important line on this ice, because, once the puck passes that and goes into the net, then it's a goal. And, if it's for your team, it's great. If it's for if it's for the opposing team and your team makes it, that's great. But if it's the opposing team making it past yours, not so great. That's pretty much, what a goalie is. They're trying to protect and make sure the puck doesn't pass that goal line. Which, pretty straightforward. Ice hockey is not the only sport that has a goalie. On top of my head, soccer, they're trying to make it so that, or they're trying to protect their goal so that the soccer ball can't get into it. Same thing, but with ice and a smaller net, and with a puck instead of a ball. So that's what a goalie is. Next, we're going to go to the people on the ice, or the players on the ice that are going to help out the goalie, because they're only one person. They can only do so much, especially when they're only in one area of the ice, and that is the defenseman. We have a right defenseman and a left defenseman. They're protecting, right side of the ice, left side of the ice. they play closer to their team's net, so that you'll see them go towards the opposing team's side, but for the most part, you'll see them near their own net, and that's because they also protect their own goal from attacks by the opposing team. They'll get the puck for their own team away from, or they'll try to at least get the puck away from the opposing team for their own team and shoot it all the way to the opposing team side. That way their guys down there can grab it and then hopefully make a goal for their team. They can play offense, but I mean, that's not in their title, really. They're defensemen, so they're going to play defense. My guy, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, shit. All right. Again, apologies if that makes a really weird sound. I just hit my mic arm again. I'm sorry, headphone users. So that's, in a nutshell, what a defenseman is. They defend. They defend and protect. And, they can make goals. They can, but it's not their main goal. Their main goal is to protect the goal. Next up is our forwards positions. Our forwards. First, we'll start out with the center. So your center is a forward who plays pretty much in the middle of the ice. They're usually the ones actually making the goals and scoring. That's kind of their main prerogative, is to score. They're responsible for winning face-offs, which I described, or I told you what a face-off was earlier when we were describing icing and what happens as a result of icing. So during those face-offs, it's going to be two centers, one from each of each team coming together, and they're trying to get the puck during the face-off and shoot it towards one of their team teammates to gain possession of the puck. They support the wingers. Winger sounds like wiener. It's funny. They support the wingers and they collect rebounds in the opponent's goal area. They, just as much as their goal is to score for the team, they also help with the right wing and left wing players in if they're at more of an advantage to score. They'll help them with that. They'll get points for scoring. They'll also get points for assists, but for the most part they try to do most of the scoring, and so the people that they're supporting is going to be the left wing and right wing. Oh my gosh, enunciate, Sarah. I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling at me. So your right wing and your left wing are also forwards. One is for the right side of the ice, others for the left. And they are forwards who they play on either side of the center. They also support the center, and then they also score goals. And what they also try to do, along with the defenseman, is try to move the puck out of the defensive zone. They're mostly on the ice to help gain possession of the puck and help score, or help the center score. They're kind of like your two friends that are just always there to help you out and support you. But they can get their moment to shine too, and it's really cute. I have a whole what should I call it? Comparison scenario that helped me with learning what each position would be like each position would, and their actions and why they do what they do, in terms that I'm calling hot girl terms. I don't know if I'll say it because in my head it makes sense, but if I try to describe it in person or in actually out loud, I don't think it would make much sense. If you really want me to know my little scenario, just let me know and I can say it in the next episode. But for now, I think I'll keep that to myself. So those are the 6 positions on the ice and their basic actions and what they do during a game to help their team. Now, the next round of information that I want to go into is I'm going to describe what a standard ice rink will look like for a game. But first, let's review what we just went over. We went over what is hockey. We went over how many periods are in a game, which is 3. How long those periods are, which is 20 minutes. Also with 15-minute intermissions between each period. We talked about what's considered a goal, what is a shot on goal. We went over the point system for goals and for scoring. We also went over what a power play was, what is icing, why icing is used, and the different positions on the ice. So I hope you're still staying with me. I hope I haven't lost you here. And if I did, you can just go back and re-listen to what I just said. Because, you know, if you want to. Hopefully my voice isn't that grating to you. So now that we've gone over what we just talked about, let's talk about your lines on the ice. So if you're looking at the rink during a hockey game, you're going to see You're going to see 5 different lines. You'll see right smack in the middle is going to be a thick red line. That line is called your center line. Very obvious why it's called that. It's in the center of the ice. That is where your face-offs are going to happen during the game. It's what divides the offensive zone from the offensive zone to the defensive zone, which we will go over. Calm down, okay? And so to the right and the left of the center ice are going to be these blue lines, and the space in between those blue lines and the red center is called the neutral zone. Kind of like Switzerland, it's a neutral area. It doesn't belong to either team. It just is. It just exists. And then beyond that is going to be your offensive zone and your defensive zone. And this is on either side of the ice. And those are in between the two, is in between that blue line and in between the goal line, which we went over earlier. I hope you remember what that is. So one half will be the offensive zone, and on the other side will be the defensive zone. And then, we have the goal line, we have the goalie net, we have the crease. We already went over this. If you don't remember, I'm so sorry. I will go over it one more time. There's the goalie net, which is the actual physical net that the goalie is protecting. Then there's right in front of it the goal line. It's about a 2-inch line, if you don't remember. And then in front of that goal line is going to be a little almost semicircle that's filled in on the ice called the crease, which is where the goalie lives. This is a little home. And so those are your basic standard, those are your standard rink lines on the ice. And there are different areas on the ice that will have show where face-offs can happen, because face-offs don't always happen on the center line. It's just, the main area where they could happen. Because like I said, if there's an icing infraction, is that the right word? Infraction? If icing occurs, obviously they're not going to do a face-off in the middle and they're in the center of the rink. They're going to do a face-off towards the team, or on the side of the team that caused the icing to happen. Dad, remember I just went over that? I hope that's a very easy to follow description of the standard rink lines on the ice during the game. If you would like, you can always look up a picture of the rink. There's so many diagrams that are very helpful to show you and describe to you the different lines and how they'll be used, what players stand on them, yada, yada, yada. Now, I feel that your knowledge of hockey, at least on the basic level, is probably pretty full right now. You're probably like, I don't know if I can handle any more information. Your brain is begging you to stop. Your ears are begging you to stop listening to my voice. But I'm not done yet, because I want to talk about why there are so many different hockey leagues. There's so many different hockey leagues around the world, my guys. Uh, there's obviously the NHL, which is the National Hockey League. It's the biggest one. It's the one where all the teams there compete for the Stanley Cup. There's also the AHL, which is the American Hockey League. There's also the PWHL, which is the Professional Women's Hockey League. We also have the NCAA Division I Hockey League, which is college hockey. It's just called that because it's a really long name for it's college hockey. Just call it college hockey. There's also the CHL, which is the Canadian Hockey League, and so many different other countries have their own hockey leagues. As I'm filming this right now, we're in the midst of starting we're about to start actually the Four Nations tournament, which is between America, Canada, Finland, and Sweden. Matthew Tkachuk is an alternate captain for Team USA. And I'm really proud of him. I mean, I kind of knew that was going to happen. I feel like anybody would know that he would be an alternate captain, but it's going to make rooting for Team USA and for Four Nations just all the more sweet, knowing that he's in there. It just sucks that there's no Sharks players. Actually, there was a Sharks player that was going to be for Four Nations. He was playing for Finland, and it was Granlund. But he and Cody Ceci just got traded to Dallas Stars for a first round and fifth round draft pick. This is going to be the next couple of weeks are going to be so... See, I'm hitting the mic arm because I'm so frustrated. The next couple of weeks until the trade deadline, which I believe is like March 7th, are going to be so stressful. If you know me in real life or if you follow me on Instagram, I'm so sorry for the person I'm going to become in the next couple of weeks. Because if we keep getting all these people traded, I am going to lose my mind. I know that it's a part of... don't even remind me. I know that it's a part of sports. I know. It doesn't mean I have to be happy about it, okay? End of rant. Sorry, I really went off there. But I don't remember what I was talking about. Yeah, different hockey leagues around the world. Cheese and rice. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh my god, I just got so heated and it made me lose complete track of where my mind was. Yeah. I'm just gonna end of sentence there. There's so many different leagues around the world. I will go over them in future episodes. Kind of what I want to do is for each league go over either all the teams, which I will do that for NHL, AHL, and the PWHL, and I'll go through like all the teams in those leagues and their histories and such, how they started, where they are right now. But I also, once that's done, go into different countries and their teams, because what a lot of people, hockey fans know, but like what I didn't know was that before they got to their NHL teams, a lot of NHL players, would go overseas and play like hockey in different countries, like William Nylander and Pasta from Williams from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then Pasta, don't ask me how to say his last name, I'm calling him Pasta. He's from the Boston Bruins, but they played together. Like how they met is they played together on a team in Sweden. Don't ask me the name of the team either, I don't know. That's how they met and became really good friends, but they did that before they each got drafted to their teams, which is super cute. It's and I mean, like, even what's his last name, Philip Forsberg or whatever, from the Nashville Predators, the man with the really nice mustache, he played for a team in Sweden before he got drafted to the Nashville Predators. It's so, going through the history, I'll probably see a lot of familiar faces, and you'll probably hear a lot of familiar names if you listen to this episode and decide to look up different players. I will say this, ladies, and also my men who enjoy men, hockey has some of the cutest players. Yes, a lot of them are missing their teeth, but you know what? As long as they don't smile with their mouth open, they look very nice, which is also another plus for this sport. Okay. All right, I think that's probably, a sign that I should probably stop talking. I think I'm going to end the episode here before I do that though, I just want to say, if you sat here and you listened, or if you sat and watched this whole thing, thank you so much. I'm very excited to film more episodes. You know, this is just the start of what I hope is a long show. I'm don't even care if this takes me anywhere. I'm just happy to have this outlet to yap, because I'm sure my boyfriend and my friends are tired of me bringing up hockey at any, point in conversation. I'll talk about, like, oh, you guys, like, did you see the picture that Macklin Celebrini posted? I think his facial hair is growing out, and they'll be like, Sarah, we don't know who that is. We were literally talking about what to do for dinner. Why did you bring that up? So this is gonna be a nice outlet for me. And like I said in the beginning of, the episode, I hope that this is something that, other people who want to learn hockey will sit down and watch, or sit down and listen to, and we can learn together. And I really hope that everything that I said makes sense to you. If it doesn't, you can always let me know if you need anything clarified. You can always DM me on Instagram. You can always leave comments in the comment section. I'll try to reply to them. I say this like there's going to be millions of people commenting. As long as I get like 1 or 2 views of this, I think I'll be pretty happy. So, yeah. All right. So I'm going to end this first episode. Thank you so much for listening or watching. If you did, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, and if you're listening to this, I don't know where I'll be posting the audio of this. Probably, or I'll try to do it probably on Spotify, if not SoundCloud. But either way, like the podcast. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Sarah Crick, and this has been Hot Girls Learn Hockey.